Good evening, everyone. It is Sissy with Sissy's Cards and Crafts. I am coming to you again. Sorry I missed last night. It was kind of a rough night. For those of you that I haven't shared with or aren't aware of, I do have psoriatic arthritis and sometimes have a flare-up. So last night was one of those nights. But welcome back. We have been working, kind of went back to the basics on some card making this week, and I've used the Cheers and Sips bundle. Actually, the Celebratory Sweets bundle is what I've used to make these two cards. And like I said, we've kind of gone back to the basics and talking about um, the things that you want to think about when you're making a card. So these are basic A2 size cards, which really is just a sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11, cut in half, right? So that's basically what it is. Makes it nice so you can get two cards out of a piece of paper. We have a portrait um, orientation and a landscape orientation. We've made sure we use coordinating colors. We've used textures. And like I've said, texture can be just kind of what's in the paper that brings out the illusion of texture, or it could be actual texture. So quite often it's ribbon and gems that we're using for that. And here on this one, actually, we've used some embossing, dry embossing, as well as a very soft ribbon. Then we also want to use our focal point. So our focal point is the drinks in both of these, and making sure they coordinate and all looks well and the proper positioning and size on the card. We've not centered either one of these cards, which I tend to like to kind of go a little off center. Yeah, I don't know what that says about me, but that's it. Anyway, sorry, I'm going to backtrack. I am Sissy from Sissy's Cards and Crafts. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Eastern Ontario, Canada. So welcome again. Also, we want to have some lift with our cards, or dimensions. So we use what we call dimensionals that is foam tape, double-sided foam tape that gives some lift to our cards and depends on what we use. So that's kind of some basics. Tonight, I thought I would bring out a card that I designed with this suite, and it's what we call a fun fold. It's not a difficult fun fold. It's quite common. So I just thought I would show how I did this. I'm going to do different papers to demonstrate how much our just how everything coordinates with Stampin' Up! So I'm going to use a piece of our DSP or Designer Series paper that came out of that suite. I'm going to use both sides because they're created to coordinate. The whole set of papers are to coordinate, but this specifically, we're just going to use the one sheet. So we're going to have our base as this in color, which is Strawberry Slush. So that's the in color. And remember, we do have the in color sale going on. I believe I gave you wrong information earlier in the week, and I said that the sale was 30% off. If you're a demonstrator, that can be kind of what it is. If you get your 20% discount and then another 15% discount, that's pretty good. But for those of you that are not demonstrators, the discount is 15%, but it's also on all of the products that have a current in color in. So our in colors, they go for 2 years. So we have ones that started last year, and so they're in their second year. And oh gee, what were they? It was Pretty in Pink. I'm trying to look and see what I've got. Petunia Pop, Pretty in Pink. Oh shoot, there were a couple other ones in there, and I'm totally Shy Shamrock and Summer Splash, I believe, were the ones. So they're still in colors, but they're last year's in colors. They are not part of the sale. It's the current in colors. So the 2025 to 2027 in colors, and DSP or gems that have those in colors as part of them is also included in that sale. So you could buy this set of cardstock if you wanted to just purchase this on its own, and you would get that 15% off. It's on independent. It's not going to be 15% off the suite because it's part of the suite has the in colors. It's just going to be off the DSP from my understanding. Okay, so again, back to this wonderful paper trimmer. I've talked about it a lot. I'm not going to go into it a whole lot, but I do want to point out that we have our two blades. This is the cutting blade, the dark one. It's very, very sharp. Oops, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that. Little bit of seasickness there. Sorry about that. And now I've probably not even got it straight. I worked so hard to get that straight, and then I just bejiggered that. So this blade or this cutting track here, but there's our blade. It's very sharp. So if you have this open, be very careful. I tend to not open it all the way because I can just lift it up there and or just a little bit higher. I don't have to quite flop it all the way open to get it used. So sharp blade, and then we have this one, which is dull. It's just kind of a higher gauged wire bent over the edge. So it creates our scoring mark. So it's the light one, the light blade, if we're going to use that. So we're going to take our 5.5, 8 by 5.5. Yeah, because it's 8.5 by 11. So it's 8.5 by 5.5 is our measurement for this sheet. It's half of the 8.5 by 11 sheet letter size paper. Then we're going to match it up to 5.5, which is going to be our 4.25 is no. Let me get this right. Yeah, 5.5. So this is going to be 4.25. Good thing I checked that because I was going to do it wrong. So 4.25 is going to be half that. It's late. I'm tired. Again, had a bad night. Not that you need my excuses. Okay, so we're just going to score that in half. That gives us our regular card, A2 card. Now, when I have scored, I've pushed down in. So that's debossed. I want to fold it so I'm folding that bump inside. That's the best way, the proper way to fold it. I know it might not seem right, but that is what you want to do. So fold it, make sure it does line up before you give it a good crease, and take your bone folder and give it a crease. So easy peasy. Now we want to do our, I'm going to fold it this way. We're going to take the front and we're going to do half of that. So it was 4.25. So we are going to, what's 4.25, 2 and an 1/8. That's what it's going to be, right? Okay, so I'm going to measure that up there, and I'm going to score it there. And then I'm going to fold it back like that. So you see we've got what we're calling a fun fold. And if you crease both sides, use your bone folder on both sides, it'll help it sit flatter. This will bounce a little bit because it is a double folded card. So it's our fun fold. Gives it a little more thickness, but right away we have that lift. Okay, just on a side note, I am using my headset tonight and my microphone, so hopefully you can hear me. It tested well, so let's keep that to the way we want it. If there's any problems, please let me know when you hear this because it's not live. All right, so we have this, sorry, it's 2.25, right? That's what we wanted that at. So I am going to, or 2 1/8 rather. So I'm going to cut this at 2 inches wide. And then we had it at 5.5. So I'm just going to go down that 1/8 of an inch and 5 3/8. So let's do We had 2 1/8, so I'm just going to do that 2, right? That's what I said. Yeah, 2. I don't know. Always, if you're unsure, double check, right? Okay, so I'm going to use this paper. Like I said, we're going to use both sides of it. So I'm going to make sure I cut this in proper direction, because it is a directional paper. This side we're not worried about, but this side we are. All right, so then that's going to be 5 3/8. I'm going to cut that. And a second one at 5 3/8. And that is going to give us some inset here for these. Now, if you wanted to be very, very particular, I should have cut this way. Right? So I can do that. Let's correct that, because I can use that piece again for another card. So this was going to be 2 inches. But I am going to only come down to, I'm going to come down to 5.5, just so I've got. And what I'm going to do is just bring this down to 5.5, poke it, and then run it up. And now I will put it in this way, up to 5.5. And I'm just going to cut down to that line. And you can feel when you've crossed that line. I know I've got just a little bit to cut off here. I just want to make sure. And I'm being a little particular. I get it. That was the one I wasn't going to use, this one. Right? But now those will match up. So learn from my mistakes. But I am going to show you how I can just trim off that 1/8 by holding this paper here, measuring on this side, and then just poke in the middle so you can go up and down and you don't have to crease your edges, or bend your edges rather. So that gives me just that little bit off, which is the right height now. They both match, and I can pop that in there and they'll both match quite nicely. So that's going to give that inset. Now, it really doesn't matter 100% because they're going to fold like this. When it does open up, you would see it. However, I'm going to put a center piece there. So really wasn't something I needed to worry about, but you know, if you're going to do it right. Okay, so now I want a piece for here, but I'm going to use this side. So let's do, let's cut it this way, and I want to go 5 3/8. And now this was that 4 1/4. So I'm just going to come down to that 4 1/4 there. And again, the same thing here. Well, now I can do 4 1/8. And that should match right there for what I want right there. And so now we have all these coordinating colors. So let's just quickly glue these on. How's everybody doing? Are you enjoying these videos? I really would enjoy your feedback. Feel free to at least say hi, let me know where you're from. Did you saw it, thumbs up, all of that jazz. If you've enjoyed it and you want to subscribe, that would be very awesome. And if you do subscribe, I will send you the instructions, or quote unquote the recipe for these cards. So all the measurements, what was used, I will have it all in a PDF that I can send to you. So when you like, send me your email address and I can pop it off to you. Or okay, so very quick and easy to do that. Now I want to take and make, so you remember here I had this piece here, and just to go proper, so that is going to be, let's say it is just 4 1/8 by 3. So I'm just going to make that. Cut that down. And go like that. And that's going to give me that cover there. So we're also going to do a white piece. We're actually going to do 2 white pieces. And so I'm going to do them at, oh shoot, that's just under what I need. Okay. So let's do 4 by 3, and that should sit quite nicely on that top there. So there's going to be quite a few layers to this. I'm probably not going to use any dimensionals, because if you wanted to send this somewhere, it could be problematic by being so thick. Okay, so we're going to do this here like that. But what I want to do is take and use the embossing folder. So we haven't used the glass embossing folder yet. And I've got to find what I did with it here. I had it. If you could see my desk, you would understand my plight. It's a very messy desk. Okay, so hopefully I can demo this on my Mini. I've had some issues in the past trying to do this on my Mini, but let's see. So we want to take our cardstock and I had it. This is going to run the other dimension because I did it in a different way. I think we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Live and learn, right? Okay, so we're going to line that up, especially when you've got some straight lines in your embossing folder. You want to make sure you're lining it up with the straight line that is on your embossing folder. So you see here the Stampin' Up logo, and there is a black line that is to give you that one to follow. So here with this gray plate, it says for embossing folders. It says use with standard embossing folders. I don't know where my other one went to for. So let's see if this is going to work. No. Gonna give me, it's gonna be too thick. Let me see if I have. There's the plate there. Just what I was looking for. All right, so number 4, insert embossing folders hinge first. This is to use with 3D embossing folders, and we want our number 1 plate, which is really going to be this gray plate, the embossing folder, and then the dark gray plate. Okay, so let's double check that that's stayed on the line. Make sure that hinge goes first, really important. Oh, no, that isn't going to work. I don't know where my number 1 plate went to. So I'm just going to have to do this on my other larger embossing folder. Just give me, or cut an emboss machine here. So just give me a second and I will do this quickly. Okay, so here we go. And now I was saying I did it differently before. If you look on this card I had done before, the flat part was along the bottom. This is going to be along the side on this one, which I believe is completely fine. Okay, so it's just going to give us that nice look right there. And I'm going to glue that on. Like that. Okay. Also, tell me where you are. Are you in Canada? Are you somewhere else in the world? I'd love to know that as well. And, you know, whenever you're seeing this, if it's sooner rather than later, that's great. You're staying current with me. If you're not, and it's, you know, months away, because we are just in the early parts of August 2025. If, you know, you're seeing this at a later time, let me know. All right. Now, the other thing I thought was great about this paper was the fact that we had all of these little things that we could cut out and actually pop on our paper here. So I thought we could fussy cut out this picture, which I really didn't want to do something kind of in the middle of my paper, but I'm going to have to because I really want to get that one out. So I'm just going to cut this out, the rough cut. There is no dies for these little ones. For the larger cups, as we saw, there are dies, but these do not have the dies. So we're going to just cut it. And actually, I like this one here. So I'm going to capture that one there. And let's capture that strawberry as well, because we're going to want a couple glasses. And you know, we're going to, because, you know, this was sitting on a lemon, we're going to have that lemon there, which, okay, that's fine. We can hide them, or, you know, they're not really that much in the way. So I'm just going to go along that edge. These are small, as I say, so if your eyes are a little bit problematic, then maybe this isn't the best pattern to be cutting out, but, you know, go for one of the larger ones. And saying all that, I might have to actually take my glasses off because I'm at that point where, you know, they go off and on more than just stay on my face anymore. But c'est la vie, they say, right? The joys of getting older. But paper crafting, or any crafting, I really, really enjoy. And so I am trying to make this new stage of my life about things I enjoy. And so if you are willing to subscribe and follow me, that would be great. Give me some encouragement to continue on. And I've got lots of plans. I'm not just all about the paper crafting. I enjoy all sorts of crafting. I'm kind of old school. And by that, I mean, you know, I did a lot of crafting growing up with my grandmother, and I just am that type of a person. I like to make sure I can do stuff for myself. I love to cook, and being a mom of 3 kids, and well, and we had a foster son for a few years, I had to try to make sure the dollars stretched. So, you got creative on many levels, and that's fine. That was what I enjoyed in my life. Okay, so let's do this drink here as well with the lemon. I'm going to just kind of cut it out a little bit more. Capture more on the edges than I need to right now, and then I will cut it a little bit smaller. So the other thing, this time of life, I mentioned my eyes, that lovely part of, you have the hot flashes, the memory lapses, all those things that just seem to add a whole new dimension to every day. And arthritis, it's just been fun. But I'm here to complain about it, so that's good. Not the complaining is good, but the fact that I'm still on this earth to enjoy every day. All right, so there we go. I kind of got a little bit closer to that orange than I was, or lemon than I kind of needed to, but there we go. So we've got some drinks and a nice picture, and that is going to, we could kind of separate them up a little bit. We had that strawberry, oh, he's right there. So the reason I thought I'd get that strawberry is I might be able to cover that spot there where there was that little bit of a line, but you know what? I don't think I need to. We'll see. I'm going to just tuck them off over there and we'll see if we need to use them. Okay, so that, I'm happy with that. I do want to put some sort of sentiment on here, like we have on all of our cards. I could put it right on here, but it has been embossed now, so that's not going to, like with this one, I had the flat part, so I was able to stamp right on that, but I don't have that option right now, so we are going to stamp, and I thought maybe we could use a new technique that I have to share with you yet. I kind of don't want to keep using the cheers. It seems to be the one that we keep using over and over again. However, it might be the one that works, that shows up really well for what we want to do. So something I have not showed you yet or shared with you yet is heat embossing. So we did the dry embossing there with that. But now to do heat embossing, we are going to use what's called Versamark or a watermark ink. And then we're also going to use some embossing powders. And I'm wondering what is our best color for this. I'm probably going to use that ribbon, so I might use the platinum one. I kind of like the platinum. Copper, the silver might not be what we want. Now, the Wow Stampin' Up! Did have an original one that was their brand, or their labeled embossing powder, and I don't know if you can still get it on the discontinued list. I don't believe so. I think it's all sold out now. but the wow stuff is much finer and nicer. So you're also going to need a heat tool, and this heat tool has two settings. So one is kind of for drying your ink or your paints, and two is for your heat embossing. All right, so you need your stamp, your Versamark ink, and in the catalog, you will also see, sorry, I'm trying to find one other thing here that I'm not seeing. My static pad should be here, but it is not here. It's missing. It's missing with everything else that's missing tonight. So let's try this. Let's just try, I don't know if that's going to work, but we'll see. Try something new. It was an anti-static pouch that I had. I don't know where it went. So I just tried a dryer sheet because it does basically the same thing. You want to try to remove all the static that's on there because this is a powder. So then you want to take the Versamark ink and your stamp it up. I've lost my stamp in the ink. That's not good. Let's try this again. Okay. Because it's a sticky ink, if that stamp wasn't, and just stamp it down. Try not to rock it. Right, there we go. I'm going to remove that Versamark ink. I'm going to put that stamp aside. And then, oh, I was saying in the catalog, you can get a set that has the anti-static pouch, has also a tray that I would use to pour this into. And then, hey, that worked pretty good, that dryer sheet. And then you also get a little paintbrush. And so the paintbrush is for taking any little bits off of the powder that might be where it doesn't want to be. And also for when you're dumping your powder back in, it's got a nice little funnel and spout on it. So you're not apt to make a mess like I very much could be making right now. And then, of course, that brush would be for taking all that extra here, and it works much easier in that nice tray than it does on this piece of paper. And try to get that all back because that's reusable. You don't want to waste that. Oh, I just mucked it up. Just hit it with my piece of paper there. Okay, don't do that, but now I do have some pieces there that I just want to get off. Okay, put that over to the side so I don't do that again. And get those back in. These powders, if you're thinking like most people think, that's really amazing, I would love to get into that, and you're like, that's expensive. Well, I can tell you these powders last a long time. I've yet to replace any of them. But one thing that can kill them is leaving them around your heat source, so tuck them away and don't have them close to when you've got your heat source out. Okay. So that watermark ink is basically like a glue. It's sticky. So then I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to heat this up. It's good to give it about 10 seconds first to heat up and then run it over until that melts and it becomes shiny. It looks very sandy right now and gritty, but as that melts, it all just melts into a nice sheen. And it does have some, there you go. It's raised as well, which is really nice. It really adds something to our cards. So there we go. It can burn, so try not to do it too long. And you do want to give it a few seconds to cool, because if I just touch that right now, I could smudge that. And then, of course, you clean your stamp just like you clean every other stamp. And for this stamp cleaner, Stamp and Scrub, you just rinse this under this tap till it runs clean. And I've only ever done it a couple times. And for stamps that you've lost a bit of stickiness and they don't seem that sticky, just taking some alcohol and rubbing them down with that really makes a difference. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of fussy cut this, give it a little bit of a edging on it, and that's what we're going to stick on. And like I said before, if you're having trouble with fussy cutting, just do chunks at a time. So there, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to get a little bit closer. And if you have a sharp edge from where you stopped and started, just round it off. Not a big problem. Move your paper, not your scissors, is the biggest tip of all. So I'm going to run my paper around, not my scissors around. There we go. And I think I've got just a bit of a sharp edge there, so I'm just going to come back and snip it off. So there we go. That is going to go on our front. So let's think of how we want to adjust these, make them look fancy. Do we want to put the cheers under it to kind of give them something to sit on? Or do we want to put the cheers down there? And because I did it in the white, it's really just making that embossing pop. Ribbon. I tied ribbon around this one. I do like ribbon. You haven't figured that out yet. I really, really enjoy using ribbon. And this one, before I secure these on, let's do the ribbon. This one, let's just maybe do a knot. It doesn't always have to be a bow. It can just be a knot, but try to maybe do your square knots. And if you're finding a little tip, if you're finding it difficult to hold that, there, nope, that's the wrong tweezers. You can use, here they are, reversible tweezers. So that can go in and hold that knot for me. So it holds it tight. Just make sure you're getting all of it. Right. There we go. And so then now I can come back and tie that the way I want it tied. And I don't have to try to have 20 fingers. There we go. Easy peasy. And I think this time I'm going to put the ribbon more to the side. Oops, it got twisted on the back. Not what I wanted. So let's see what it looks like if I move that twist to the front, because we will see the back on this. So if I can move that twist to the front, because it's a knot, I think I'll get away with that. Just give it a little bit of a wiggle and a jiggle. You know what? I'm not happy with it. I'm going to redo it. I'm going to just pull it off because I have that excess. And because I did a straight square knot, I can just pull the one side and it should loosen right up. If my first aid skills teach me, there we go. All right. Attempt to make sure the back is flat and then tie it. And I'm just going to do my regular here because I've developed a routine. Most Stampin' Up! Ribbons are, well, all are higher quality ribbon than where you're going to get, you know, off the rack somewhere else. But they still can fray on the ends, and that can be a little frustrating sometimes. If it's something that really bothers you, now keep in mind, it's not something that's meant to be sitting around forever and a day. It's always nice when people keep their cards on the mantle for a long time. But that's not necessarily what is going to happen. So if it frays after a little while, well, that's not the end of the world. But what you can do is just take very, very, very cautiously a lighter and sear the edges. That will give you a nicer edge. Now, I'm not sure, I honestly haven't tried with this ribbon to see what it does. I might be a little bit cautious with this sheer one, but it really doesn't fray that much. I've had some ribbon, as soon as I've cut it, it frays, and it's a little bit disappointing. Now, you notice I took a glue dot and stuck it in there to give me that support. I know I said I wasn't going to use dimensionals, but you know what? I'm going to use a dimensional for these. Or I'm going to use dimensionals for these, not because I'm going to use more than one. I'm using my take your pick tool as much as I can. I'm going to try to get that so it's sitting up. And this one, I think I'm going to put like that. I might just glue this one down, and then I have a little bit different levels. And then I'm going to be careful where I put the dimensionals here, because this is already bumped up. So I don't want to put dimensionals on top of that. So I'm going to just kind of put it so that's going to just sit on top of the picture, this side without any dimensionals. And I'm going to pop it down there a little bit more than that knot is. Okay, cover that up. And then I think the cheers will sit nicely right under here. And let's just do it. We've already done it. Let's go all the way. I think it would be much easier if I pull these up with my take your pick tool, because again, just struggling a little bit with the fingers. If you are suffering from psoriatic arthritis, I would love to know how you manage it, because I'm in that stage where management is being a problem. Okay, just going to pop that there. There we go. I love the sparkle. I'm not like a real sparkly person, but I just think that adds a little bit. All right, so then what we're going to do is we want to center this on the card so it's in the middle. But when we adhere it, we only want to put glue on this side, because this has to be open, right? So just kind of visualize. I can see I've got that embossed marking right there. So I don't want to go beyond that. I want to stick to this side. And I'm going to put glue down. I might even just put a little bit of glue on that ribbon just to help keep it in place. All right, so then I'm going to pop it here and center it on. Look at your edges. If you have something like this Glass Mat Studio, use that as well, because with this pattern and these polka dots that are kind of hither-skither and these drinks that are all over the place, it's not something that you want to try to measure with. And just double check here that the glue isn't seeping out. And then you can see as we open it, now that's going to center there. Now this piece here will be where we write our sentiment. We want to make sure it's hidden underneath here. So if you center it on here, it should be perfectly fine. You shouldn't have to worry about it. I was thinking of taking a piece of this and making it on there. That's not going to work. And I think putting some of this on might be a little bit too busy as well. But I could take something and add it to this. So I think I'm going to take this one drink out of here. And add it. And again, I'm just kind of cutting it out so it's kind of, I must have been getting ink on there. I see a little bit of ink on there. I see ink on this. I don't know if I've got ink on me or it's something from a previous session. But I like it when our insides reflect the outside of the card. So adding something that just brings it all together, I think adds a lot of interest. It brings that texture inside our card and it just elevates it. It just shows a little bit more love and effort went into it. And you can see how that's just going to pop, bring that color up. What are we going to put on there? Cheers. Let's celebrate. I did, to go back to this mixed label set, here's happy anniversary. Let's just put that one on. I think that's a great one. It's simple. It's definitely something that we all can use. It is a brand new stamp though, so I do want to condition it. So I'm going to give it a good scrub. Some people will use a nail file just to, or an eraser just to quickly buff the top of that. I'm not so worried about doing that, but I will do a check first. So I'm just going to grab my scrap piece of paper here and just do a quick check because I don't want to there, you know, things are mass produced. I don't want to have it go yucky. Okay, so very simple. Happy anniversary. It's going to come on, make sure my paper's straight, make sure my stamp is straight down, hold it for a couple seconds, and then up. And with the rubber mount or the red cling stamps, they don't have, they're called cling stamps because you have to put the cling part on the back, this sticker on the back. And because you're doing it, it might not go on perfectly correct. And so that makes it difficult if you're just relying on where that sticker is, your words might not completely line up with the sticker. And so that's something that just to double check can help. And I think I'm going to put that straight. Okay, and then let's just glue this on and we're done. And this, I've been, less than an hour tonight. So that's a start. Be cautious with your glue, always cautious with your glue because you only need a little, but especially on white, it can bubble and leave a mark. All right, I just double checked before I push that down, and there we go. We've got a fun fold card. It is just very simple, very easy to do, but just makes things look so much nicer. And so this was the one that I took it off that I had created before, and then our other two cards here that we used. So this suite, lots of color, lots of the in colors. Oh, we didn't put any gems on here. Gotta do a gem. which gems do we want? I think because we've got the gold embossing, let's maybe try for some gold ones. Where did all of my ones go here? I haven't checked to see and really go through what is discontinued and what isn't. So that's going to be a little bit problematic. I want to use something that's in, which this is a new one. So these little pink ones, rose gold ones, are cute, but I don't think they're going to quite look right. And we have 2 sizes of these gold. So let's do our 3. Oh, where did he go? I thought I had him there and he wasn't there. So let's kind of do this, and then we'll put a larger one. So your putty end, you want to just, it got a little bit yucky, just give it a slight twist. It takes a moment for it to come up. So if you twist until you see it, you're going to have too much. You can see just a slight twist brought up that much. So I'm going to just twist a little bit more, and it's popped up there. So it's fresh. Just put it on your gem and pull, and that holds it until you adhere it down. Let's just put it right there. And 3s or 5s work best. Good for it's pleasing. It's, you know, it's what seems to balance more in your mind, which is great. Okay, you got to always have a gem on this. Ribbon and gems make it a little bit more. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think. Very, very quick, easy, fun fold. Anybody can do it. Just a little bit of scoring. All right, take care. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining me. And I really do look forward to hearing your comments, seeing your comments. All right, take care.